Good afternoon again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We'll get back to the JRC in a moment, but first, the disclaimers. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, pertinent links are going to be right there in the description box. Autistic massive archive, as always, is in there. Neuroplastics article, the one where they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program as well. It is the very same article the JRC threatened to sue Neuroplastic over if they didn't get it off their website. They told them no, it's still there, folks. Please read the article and share it. We also got a link to Neuroplastic's GoFundMe in case the JRC ever sees through with the threat, because unlike the JRC, we do not have access to unlimited funding. Trigger warnings when we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys. You're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones. Also, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and watching, parental supervision is advised. And to piggyback off that trigger warning, we are once again descending into the stupid that is the JRC's abuse and torture apologencia, their nonsensical word salad arguments, and a level of this rampant hostile stupidity that makes Elaine look like a saint in comparison. Alright? Every other word out of my mouth in response to this stupidity is probably going to be a curse word. So, yeah, figured I'd go ahead and warn you right up front here, okay? Alright, let's go here now. Unfortunately, the FDA's historical acknowledgement of this burden turns out a little bit more than lip service. FDA turns the burden on its head. The FDA simply disregards the evidence that the ESDs are safe, effective treatment. For the love of God, that is not what the FDA did. They did not accept your so-called evidence because you, JRC, did not actually meet the burden that all other clinical studies have to meet to be accepted as evidence. Let me explain it to you again. You provided no controls. You have provided no evidence that the so-called behavioral changes that were positive remained with the students after they left because you've provided no follow-up. You provided no explanation in regards to the students within that study, in regards to what the rest of their program looked like, and why you all believed that it was the GED device and not the rest of the overall program that created those so-called positive changes. Okay? That's why your so-called evidence got thrown out, because it's not worth the poor tree that had to die for you to print your inane nonsense on. Your study does not even remotely resemble any current clinical study paper that I can pull up right now. Google is fucking free. Okay? Okay? But they only paid it lip service. Let's go over that. ER documents, both providing them for the panel to look at, as well as the photos that go along with those ER documents, is somehow lip service. How? Video surveillance footage, is that lip service too? What about the doctors who treated the patients that were students of yours that wrote those ER documents when they gave testimony in regards to what they saw, in regards to injuries from the GED device. And their photos that back them up. Is that lip service too? Your own video surveillance footage, where you can watch and see these kids scream and beg for you to stop. Is that lip service too? Really? ER documents describing injuries, particular second to third degree burns, with photo evidence and video surveillance to back it up, is not lip service. It's hard, cold evidence. It doesn't cease to be cold, hard evidence because it doesn't agree with you. That's not how evidence works. Sorry, not sorry. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. Like any scientific entity out there, the FDA disregarded your clinical study because it didn't even meet the bare minimum of standards that every other clinical study out there has to meet in order to be published and accepted by the rest of the scientific community. Okay? No follow-up. No details in regards to the rest of the overall treatment and education program in regards to kids that were in that study. No follow-up to see if those positive behavioral changes remained after the GED was removed and they were no longer at the JRC or a part of the program. But no, it proves that it's safe and effective. Does a safe and effective treatment program cause second to third degree burns from a device, Dr. Israel's own words, designed to cause physical intense pain? Yeah. The JRC has yet to provide their own burden of evidence that unequivocally proves that the GED is so-called safe and effective. Nor have they met the burden to show us that the benefits, the changes through the GED device outweigh the substantial risks. Projection 101. We're going to put off onto the FDA everything they say about us. Problem with that here is literally all the evidence says otherwise. Your clinical studies were rejected because they did not meet the bare requirements that every other clinical study has to be able to make. Okay? Number one. Number two, so-called outsider studies that you bring forward that are not from the JRC are so ridiculously outdated, there is no way, in any way, shape, or form, to take them seriously. Current data always trumps old data. I mean, seriously. We all know this. Medicine evolves. A clinical study done in the 60s is not going to have the same weight as a clinical study released today. The controls and everything have evolved. The standard of proof has changed since the fucking 60s. As our understanding of mental health, developmental disabilities continues to grow and change, that means outdated studies become less and less relevant with every passing year. Therefore, you cannot give them the same weight as a clinical study coming out now for shits and giggles, positive behavioral reinforcement, coming out today. Okay? It's a joke, and a bad one at that. You have not at any point in time, JRC, met your burden to prove your device is safe and effective treatment. The only thing you've been able to prove is that it will temporarily stop a behavior. That is the only thing you can prove. Literally the only thing you can prove. You cannot prove that afterwards, years down the road, those so-called positive behavioral changes remain with the student. Because you all don't know how to conduct a proper clinical study with proper controls. Instead, you stamp your feet like toddlers and insist your joke of the paper, papers that are ridiculously outdated, should have the same rate with the most cutting-edge clinical studies out today. It is absolutely ludicrous. It's just stupidity on parade. Okay? Let's continue to read here. Please, God, shoot me. It consistently finds facts based on its bare contentions that the JRC and the many studies in the record determining ESDs are effective treatment have not sufficiently proved contrary to such contentions. Oh my God, please stop smoking crack. Their findings is based, let me say it for the billionth time. It's going to be tattooed on my ass someday. I don't even know, but let's just go for it, right? Their findings are based off of current medical practice and treatment programs and the most recent data out at that time, and their successes with proper controls in place. Want to know where else it comes from in regards to the risks? ER documents detailing second and third degree burns and loss of feeling onto the very places where you stick the electrodes. Photo evidence, video surveillance footage to back it up. And the very doctors who wrote those ER documents coming forward to testify, clarify. You get where I'm going here, right? They didn't go find facts. The facts found them and swamped them. So again, I'll ask what I asked in the earlier video from today. What evidence would you, the JRC, accept? What would that look like? What does that need to be for you to understand that putting kids in a human shock collar and torturing them is not just wrong, not just torture, but does not do anything that you say it does? What would that look like? What would you need to see? Again, Jimmy Hoffa and an oil drum? the last unicorn coming in and bearing the most recent clinical studies in their mouth while farting rainbows and shitting Hershey Kisses. I mean, I'm out of ideas here, JRC. I'm out of ideas here. ER documents, video surveillance footage, witness testimony, and expert testimony that backs up what they have found is not somebody just looking for evidence. The evidence swamped them in a tsunami. Okay? You have not proved at all, in any way, shape, or form that your device is safe and effective. We, however, as I just said, have a tsunami level amount of evidence that proves the exact opposite. And telling me that ER documents does not prove risk, again, means you're either a special level stupid Kool-Aid drinker that has no business so much as being a teacher's aide, let alone running a residential school and overall treatment program, or you really are just that level of evil. Okay? You have not proved they're safe and effective. You have not proved that the so-called benefits outweigh the risks of wearing the device. You have proven only one thing. That the device inflicting intense pain will stop the behavior when it's occurring. The same way as a sudden punch out of nowhere directly to my face would probably stop my rant right now and you get a look of shock. Probably deep anger and underall rage issues. Does not prove the longevity of these so-called positive behavioral changes. It does not prove an overall improved quality of life, because if you don't do any follow-ups after the kids are no longer on the device and no longer in your school, you have zero way to prove how effective they actually really are, other than in a temporary interruption of a behavior. You can't. Just saying. You have not proved they're safe and effective. You have not proved that they can provide better quality outcomes for long after they have left your school, because you've provided zero follow-up. Nothing. Literally nothing. It has made an endless search for trivial and inconsequential criticisms that studies and statistics have limitations, or that certain methods are not the gold standard, or that authors are conflicted, and has even posted consistent successful outcomes might be explained by pure coincidence, so that it can provide meaningless justifications for dismissing overwhelming evidence. What overwhelming evidence? I'm all ears, JRC. What overwhelming evidence? Is it in the room with us? Is that overwhelming evidence perhaps in the same area where Amber Heard misplaced her mountain of evidence too? Maybe it's also in the same magical area where I lose multiple singular socks. Okay? Where is this evidence? Let's see it. There's a reason why I kept telling you all those two cases paralleled each other extremely closely. Exhibit A. All the overwhelming evidence proves Again, is this evidence in the room with us? Could it be found with AH's mountain of non-existent evidence in the land where we have one single socks from pears that, tend to disappear? Perhaps in the same land we'll find Jimmy Hoffa in an oil drum. That ESD therapy works for patients for whom no other treatment method has been successful. That is a lie. A lie! Your kids do not have full functional behavioral assessments done. Because they are not done, people are not making educated decisions in regards to what programs are going to be the best for them. Most of these folks trust their school districts, and school districts, due to their overwhelming insanity that they have to deal with, end up usually kicking the can down the road, and due to caseloads, really don't have the ability to fully vet these schools before they send your kid off to them. That is the truth. Sorry to break it for you, but that is a lie. The other treatments doesn't mean you've tried every treatment. The reason why those treatments didn't work were because it was a Hail Mary and a prayer. Full functional behavioral assessments exist for that very reason, so that you do have the information you need to have on hand when choosing a proper overall treatment program as well as educational program that is going to address your child's very specific support needs and the services they need to help them to grow. That's why they exist. You do not have that. It's Russian roulette time. So no, I am not surprised that it didn't work. Because the decisions made in regards to those interventions are being done blind. Duh. Sorry to go full 90s on you, but fucking duh. Okay? JRC, you have provided absolutely zero evidence in regards to the safety and effectiveness of your device. You have not proven in any way, shape, or form that the so-called better positive behavioral changes remain with the students long after they leave your care. You provided no follow-up. There is no data there. You do not detail out the other parts of their program so that we are better able to determine whether it's the rest of the program or the GED that is causing these changes. You continue to write these comments while simultaneously refusing to admit that masking is a thing that exists. All of us learn how to do it one way or another for means of survival. So what you are seeing on the outside is more than likely probably not real. We're doing what we have to do, kind of like any call center employee. You're only going to do just enough not to get fired. In this case, you're going to mask enough to hopefully not get abused. You have provided nothing. 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 Your clinical study is a joke. The papers you insist carry the same weight as the other ones that we've read are ridiculously outdated. You have literal ER documents detailing the injuries caused by the GED device backed up with videos, your own video surveillance footage. Your overwhelming evidence, much like AH's, doesn't exist. I'm going to close out on that one, folks. Thankfully, it's the last video for today. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, And please don't forget to hit the comments. I appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you all in a while. Bye-bye.